Doesn't really matter which we start, do it. All right, welcome. Today we have Becca Blond, Planet Blonde,
Thank you for having me.
a travel writer, joining us here today. Share a little bit about your travels and adventures with the Zeal community.
So I've been in the industry since I was in my early 20s, just after college, and I started off writing Lonely Planet travel guides and did about 30 of those across 5 continents, and then kind of went into the freelance writing field, and now I write for freelance for a number of magazines and websites, from the Point Sky to Matador Network to Lonely Planet still, and Thrillist. So yeah, and Eric and I recently went to Mexico in December with my dog, Jet Set Pup, who also travels with me. And
Did a roundup of the Riviera Maya?
yeah, did a
That's a good
roundup
one.
of the Riviera Maya and just kind of came up with some concepts for Zeal too.
What's been your favorite article? If you were to go back to a place had to do another article, where would you go back to right away?
South Africa, for sure.
That's your
That's
favorite, isn't
my
it?
favorite destination in the world.
What is it about South Africa?
I just love the culture. I love the way there's so much diversity there, whether it's diversity of people, with diversity of languages, diversity of environment. Like you can go from the beach to the city to a safari, all within like a short drive of each other. And yeah, it's just pretty awesome country to travel to.
How many countries have you been to?
I've never actually counted.
Not actually counted.
It's got to be close to 60 at this point, I think.
And when you travel, it varies. You do press trips, you do solo travel. Share a little bit about the different type of travel and what you enjoy about each type.
So yeah, I mean, a press trip is definitely a very structured environment. You're going there on behalf of a destination, and obviously I only write about places that I have a positive experience from, or if I have a negative experience, I'm honest about it. But it's a very like structured itinerary, and you're expected to deliver certain things. With solo travel, it's just all about finding yourself. I'm never really usually alone, because I bring Poppy the dog. I have really bad panic attacks, so I have a trained service animal, and she has made traveling and working remotely just so much easier for me. But yeah, so that's different. And then, of course, I always love traveling with friends.
Traveling with a dog is a lot of fun. I hadn't done it until this last trip, but the service dogs, they can turn it on and off. It's amazing if you're able to travel with a companion.
Yeah.
But you've traveled the world. You have so much experience. We've had some really interesting conversations. One of our friends is going to Thailand, actually, as a matter of fact, as we speak. He's en route. But we were talking and giving him some guidance, and you just have a lot of tips from having done it and learned the hard way. Share a little bit about what you found along the journey and what you might be able to just kind of start to open for our followers here.
Well, so you really have to expect the unexpected. You have to be very versatile. I say never pack too heavy. You want to pack kind of light. And you need to be flexible, especially in this day and age with constantly changing conditions. Just certain things, like when you're researching a trip, trying to look at like what your budget is realistically, and realize that you want to pick a destination that you can actually like afford to spend money in. Like, don't go to Tulum if you have a pretty low budget. There's other parts of Mexico where you can get a much better deal. And then just, what else was I saying? Oh, like weather. You want to look at like what the weather is going to be like that time of year when you're visiting.
For instance, you were talking even on one island in Thailand, there can be 2 different monsoon seasons.
Yes, that's totally true. So like one coast of Thailand, you'll get rain one time of the year, and then the other coast, you'll get it a different time of the year. So just like Googling what the weather is going to be like when you're going can make the difference, especially with American vacations. If you're not working remotely, but you're actually taking time off from work, you don't really want your whole trip ruined. So those would be a few tips I have.
Yeah, and so let's dive a little bit deeper into that, because we had talked about some really kind of innovative and key things that you found along the journey. Like for instance, things like time zones. How do you navigate time zones when not only kind of you're researching, but when you're looking at working, going, whether it be north, south, east, west? How do you manage and set expectations?
That's huge. So if you are planning to work remotely and you are working for an employer where you're, say, 9 to 5 East Coast time, you definitely want to look at your destination before you go. You don't want to go to like Bali necessarily, or even Thailand, or somewhere where you have that 12-hour time difference and you're going to be up literally all night as your day. And then you're not really going to, I mean, you're just going to be completely thrown off.
Unless you're project based. If you're project based and you don't have kind of
Right, if you don't
consistent
have set
calls,
hours,
yeah.
yeah, then that's totally different. So for me, it doesn't make a huge difference. Like I can write whenever on my time. But if you're expected to like log in, then you're going to want to pick somewhere in the Caribbean or Central or South America if you're in North America. So yeah, I think that's definitely important.
And then when it comes to like researching the destination, we've talked a little bit about time zones. That's one. You talked about weather and being able to understand the weather and kind of what is happening. Now, do you enjoy peak season, shoulder season, off season? Kind of what tips do you have around navigating and understanding what is the opportune time to go? Because everywhere has fall, spring, and it can take a lot of understanding of like what is the right time to go to Tokyo for the blossom flowers, or to go and see some of the unique things. What does that look like, and trying to build your calendar accordingly?
I think it kind of depends on what you're looking for in a trip. If it's a very special, like a honeymoon or an anniversary trip, not necessarily remote working, but like an actual vacation, then you might want to pay extra to go in the peak season to ensure that you have excellent weather. But you're going to pay more, you're going to have higher crowds. So my favorite season is shoulder season, where you kind of have that mix. It's still, um, semi decent weather. Maybe you get a day or two of rain, but you have less crowds, more chance to like interact with locals, and lower prices, and just kind of a more immersive experience. And then if you have total flexibility, I mean, I would look based on where you want to go and when you can use your points best or your lowest airfares. So, some people have the opportunity, like our friend who just popped off to Thailand for a weekend. So, like, oh, literally decided within 3 days.
And using points is a great way if you have the structure of being able for your business. Often we're remote working, you have that second part of that as your lifestyle, right? But it's the balance of that, and you need to be able to entertain that. So how you do that is key in being able to, from time zones to location, make sure that you choose those right spots. If you have the flexibility, then it's just ensuring that you have the Wi-Fi, and that you
Mhm.
are going to the structured places that are going to be conducive to then adventure and maybe get off the path where there's not Wi-Fi.
Right.
But at least using that as a home base for then your adventures, whether it's scuba diving or exploring. Uh,
Yeah, I think like when you're living remotely, it's really important to have a home base and then adventure from there. Because otherwise, I mean, travel can get exhausting for anyone. And there's going to be times, especially if you need to be productive, that you want to like set that week aside where you're in whatever city or town that has a good Wi-Fi connection, and then you dedicate like a 5 day block to work, and then you dedicate like a 5 day block to play.
Yeah, or even I'll do hour blocks or morning blocks. I want to go surf in the morning, and then I'm going to take the afternoon. We'll take a handful of calls, then go back out and have dinner and go around the town. But
Yeah, you're
it takes
better at
that.
that than me.
It takes that dedication, because then it's at your doorstep, right? It's so easy and convenient to be able to just. That's why you're there. So it takes being able to kind of bifurcate them.
Yes,
But you're always on. I mean, you'll have. We luckily
definitely.
have the technology to be connected, so it does make it easier. But that line can get blurred when you're always on at the beach. And you're like,
Hmm. I feel like you do need some time to disconnect. So, like what you're saying, yeah, you set a schedule, pick a great location where you can do adventures that you want to do, so that there's something to do beyond just being in that location, like something that draws you there beyond work. So whether that is surfing or hiking or, just having that accessible, I think is huge. And community.
Yeah. Well, for a lot of remote workers, I think most people have this assumption that remote working is this avant-garde digital nomadic minimalist lifestyle is kind of how it's been painted. And yet I know so many people that will go and remote work for a month or for a few weeks or for a really cold Minnesota winter, and they'll be able to
Hmm.
just get away, and they use it as a seasonal thing. And I don't think we assume that that's viable or as much of an option. But then when you're actually going and living the lifestyle and you have made that commitment, you are an expat or you're living in another country, you need to take that same vacation, and even if it's in your own country, go and play and explore and adventure and turn off, because it can be really hard to turn off when you're already kind of in that vacation mindset when you're already
That's
there.
so true. Yeah, I have trouble doing that. But yeah, no, I think that's really, really important, to be able to do that for sure.
Now, when it comes to like working, do you have any productivity tips besides time blocking when you're out remote working? Whether it be VPNs or productivity tips, is there a way that you kind of found to manage and balance your schedule, so that you can be able to go play and enjoy the destination?
Yeah, so I usually try to get my work done in the morning. I like to block out like a 4 or 5 hour time block. And then I will usually try to be in like a room by myself where I'm not distracted. Like I don't do well trying to work on the beach. That's just not, I know
Yeah.
you were better at that, but that's not me. I usually use headphones, try to get a secure wireless setting, or if I have to, I turn my phone into a hotspot. T-Mobile is an awesome cell service to
Mhm.
have. They don't sponsor me or anything. I've just had them for years, but they are great because, especially like if you're in Mexico, you get your normal like 5G coverage, and there's no fees, daily fees for data or roaming, as opposed to like my friend is in Mexico right now and she can't get text messages because she's not paying Verizon, so she can only use Wi-Fi. So yeah,
And then
just
you run out of their allotted half gig,
right.
and then you have to go find Wi-Fi to be able to communicate when you don't have the LTE.
Yeah. So, or getting a local SIM card, obviously, from where you live, but or where if you're going long term to another country. So yeah, I like to block out a set of time, and then my assignments are all like very cut and dry. Like when you're finished writing, it's done. So I just try to get whatever set that I've given myself for that day done, and then go off and play and try not to look at my phone and just kind of decompress. Although I'm always usually doing social media, so you never really get a break these days. But
Yes.
I try.
Yep.
Um,
It can be tough because we are so connected. I mean, we do the same thing when we're at home, though. I mean, a lot of people have a hard time turning off, but when you make the commitment to go remote, even if it's for a few weeks, the idea is to go actually embrace and enjoy the lifestyle, the culture, to use technology to connect you more seamlessly to those moments where you get to have the drinks, have the sunset conversations, have those memorable experiences. So my encouragement or invitation is use tech in that way and time block and make those commitments and set the expectations with the people that are in your family or in your professional life. Here's how we're communicating: WhatsApp, email. Here's when I'm going to respond. Remind people, right? It's going to take a little bit of getting used to if you haven't done it, but you can. I think to what we had talked about earlier, just try on remote working. Maybe that looks like driving to a new destination. I know you during COVID you did a ton of local
yes.
writing and remote working, and we're seeing the van and RV world start to do this too. There's going to be a lot of that as prices for travel go up this summer. Remote working isn't just going to these exotic locations.
No,
It's
there's so much you can explore, like just in your own backyard. I mean, I got to so many spots in Colorado that I'd never traveled to before last year, and that was awesome. And just going to like different parts of the US that I probably wouldn't have gone to had it not been COVID. So yeah, and you can end up getting a lot actually more done when you're in these less exotic destinations, I think. But it's a good mix, and like I said, you get to move constantly. So
And we've got some friends that are now looking at a place in Panama, actually getting some land and developing some stuff. And they kind of did this try on model. And we're seeing it all over the world where people are looking at kind of these home bases and how do you try on a new destination, be able to use that as that home base, get accustomed to it. And whether it's moving or looking to start your business or just adventure, how do you then have the ability to kind of go around to the surrounding areas and really understand if you want to live there, then where do you want to live there and how do you get involved? Because it takes some integration to really see. The first week is a lot of fun. The first week is your vacation, and I encourage you to take your first week as vacation. But as you start to expand your bubble and your circle outside of the hotel or where you're staying, you start to understand the cultural norms and you start to understand some of that stuff. And sometimes that doesn't like float, right? I'm sure you found that sometimes you're like, you had read and had these expectations of place. You get there and you're like, nope, nah, that wasn't what I thought.
Completely. Yeah. You kind of have to, I don't know. I think there's sometimes like an overhype about a destination, or it ends up being way more crowded, or you were hoping for one vibe and you end up with another. So yeah, I think exploring around and kind of figuring out where you want to settle down is also important.
So you write for a living, you create these guides, there's a lot of information out there, right? Everyone can create some top 10 lists about their experience, and which is amazing. We want and are encouraging people to share that so that everyone has a hub of these guides and these ways to be able to more seamlessly travel. But there's not always great information out there. So how do you filter? How do you kind of look when you're digging in through the comments and recency, and how do you kind of validate someplace before you make that commitment?
Yeah, I mean, there is so much information out there, and with like Google rankings and people paying, and you're not necessarily sure if it's an advertisement. So I tend to look to influencers and other travel writers that I follow, and see where they've been, what content they've produced, and what destinations they're loving. And then I look to like reputable travel websites like Lonely Planet, Condé Nast Traveler, Travel and Leisure, just ones that I trust. And then, but yeah, a lot of what I will source will be from like my friends that I will follow their Instagrams, or even just plugging like a destination into Instagram and seeing the different photos that are coming up from there, the different reels. You can get kind of a feel. I do think some crowdsourced information is useful. Like a lot of the TripAdvisor reviews are quite on. Some of them are not. But yeah, as opposed to just clicking on the first thing you see on Google and don't believe everything you see. So if it looks great, then go do some more research.
I think checking a few sources is always a good idea. You can buy likes, unfortunately.
That is very true. It's
Gamify
people you
some
trust.
things. But I encourage kind of check a few sources. Especially if you're looking for a new destination. How walkable is it? How easy is transportation to and from markets and bars and restaurants going to be? What does that look like as far as being able to have local food, whether it's walkable, driving, delivered to you? You're going to be having this as your home away from home. So you got to take some of those considerations, because you don't want to eat out every single day. I mean, for the first few weeks, yeah, you want to try the food, but
you want to be able to cook for yourself, and you want to be able to get there easily and not have to worry about taking like a 20-minute Uber ride to get somewhere, or that's going to end up eating into your budget. So yeah, I think like budgeting is just super important too. Even if
where do you start? As you start to budget, what are some of the considerations? Where do you start to say, hey, here's some of the categories and things I need to be cognizant and have some cushion around?
It's like food and drinks. You're always going to spend more than you anticipate.
By 20 to 25%. By 20 to 25%.
Even just things like rental cars, you might show up at a destination and then there's like this whole added extra fee, like what happened to us in Mexico.
Insurance.
And
some credit cards will protect you on that. So again,
And then some destinations will just be like, you have to pay this extra fee or you're not getting the car. So what is your game plan if that happens? So budgeting in like extras for that. Making sure you budget in for activities if you want to do like a lot of scuba diving in a destination, like that's going to cost more. So really just, I would say I always try to like over anticipate by like 30%. And then
Yeah, it's like 25, 30 is a good.
I'd rather have like money left over at the end than run out in the middle on the trip.
There's that like buyer's regret moment where you're in the moment, and whether it's a photograph or a piece of artwork or whatever, it doesn't matter what it is, you're like, I so wish I would have taken that home with me. And those are those little moments that you want to be able to bring back.
Yeah.
Whether it be, hand painted bowls or whatever, those are the great things that help bring you back and recall how awesome that experience was and inspire you to want to go and go to the next place.
Yeah.
So, you don't want to cut yourself short on those little gifts of the shirt that was, I was on the phone with a friend who was trying to haggle $5 for a shirt. And I was like, you want it that bad? Just spend the extra $5. I know you're trying to like,
and then sometimes that's also
deal.
just like what you consider, especially if you're in a poor country. I'm like, just pay for it. Like these people are trying to earn a living, and it may not be what you think it's worth, but it's what you're taking home, and just trying to get the cheapest price is kind of frustrating. And rich world problems.
Yeah. I think what I found in the remote community thus far is most people, as you really start to get integrated in the culture, want to give back more. They want to donate their time. They want to find a way where, in some capacity, they can share their talents, and clean beaches, donate time, whatever. What have you done yourself? I know you've done some various work, right?
Yeah, definitely. Like I have done like a lot of volunteer work in Africa, just going into like local communities, volunteering at food banks, like clean up the beach programs. There's definitely like destinations that are incentivizing that. For instance, Hawaii has a program now where they're trying to get travelers to give back on their destination in exchange for like different perks that they'll get. Like, I don't know the program that well, but so I don't know what, but they have some decent perks. But just, I think like finding a destination where you have that opportunity to give back is important to me in travel as well.
And I think it can take so many different shapes and facets. It doesn't need to be money. It doesn't need to be just time. There's so many ways to make an impact and leave an impression.
Yeah,
when
for sure.
You're in the community. It's like giver's gain philosophy of leaving more than when you got there,
Mm-hmm.
and sharing. So, we're excited in Barbados. We're talking with a few different philanthropies about how we're going to support our Love for the Locals program and do some cool activations for half days and such. So
I'm so excited for that trip.
We haven't even touched on behind the scenes. We've gotten behind the scenes. We've talked about remote working and what kind of this lifestyle is like, and we've whiz through a bunch of valuable tips and tricks, but we are going in June to Barbados. It's funny, we talked about this, about getting a handful of people together and really supporting what this vision looks like to break these misnomers about how hard and how tough it is make remote working easy a few months ago, and it's come to life. We're now just 9 weeks away from going to Barbados, and
that's crazy.
Going and putting our feet back in the sand to show people how remote working really is easier than you think.
Yeah.
Yes, there's, like anything, there's going to be issues, and you're going to have flights that are going to change that aren't out of your own accord. There's going to be stuff, but it's so worth it. And we're going to help you with a community to show you all the ways to navigate through, from the pre-trip preparation to how do you have this conversation with your employer, what does packing look like for an extended stay, and depending where you're going. And then we're doing a bunch of workshops. We're going to have a bunch of fun workshops with the other influencers and writers about kind of all things travel, from fitness to crypto. And have you used Bitcoin when you've traveled? Have you used crypto?
I have not. I don't know anything about crypto, so I'm really excited to learn more about crypto.
Barbados has been very progressive, sustainability and crypto and all things. They're even dipping into the metaverse. That's incredible,
Yeah, it's crazy.
with digital sovereignty. But they, widely adopt Bitcoin and crypto. So we're going to do a workshop about setting up your wallet and what all that looks like. And everyone's going to be doing all sorts of cool concepts and sharing as we enroll the remote workers there and do a variety of events. So what are you most excited about for this trip?
Well, one, I've never been to Barbados, so
You've been all over the Caribbean.
I know, and I haven't been to Barbados, so I'm super excited for that. Just the opportunity to meet new people in the industry or in similar industries, like what you were saying with the crypto, like learning new things, learning from others. Most of the people I travel with are either travel writers or influencers, so just all the different unique angles that you're bringing in. Yeah, I think it's just going to be a great trip. And my dog Poppy is looking forward to it as well. She's going to be the dog influencer there.
Poppy's a riot. Poppy
Pup.
is the jet set pup, and she is a carnivore.
She is a total carnivore. Actually, now she loves lobster too. So she's a carnivore and pescatarian. Might get kind of expensive. Started digging for crabs in Mexico. Yeah, I know.
Well, what questions do you have about Barbados? I'd love to kind of open the conversation and share a little bit with other people that are just starting to hear about what this looks like. What questions do you have or do you want to talk about the retreat?
So I guess I think it would be helpful if you just kind of explain a little bit more about what we're doing and kind of your idea behind it and why you started Zeal even. It'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, we can go that far back here in a minute, but really the idea behind the retreat is to show people how remote working can work for you, to be able to bring a variety of people that have expertise and have been there and done that to shed their light and bring the spotlight to them about the knowledge, the insight, the value that they've learned over those years. It's so helpful once you start stacking these little tips, whether it's using an incognito tab when you're browsing to VPN. I mean, just they all start to make travel comfortable. And when you can see it as a possibility, you can start taking those first steps and you have a community to support you. It makes such a world of difference. Solo travel is fun and I've done it and will continue to do it. You learn a lot, but there's something to traveling and collaborating with like-minded people, whether it's your scuba community, whether it's your yoga community, whether it's, just other empty nesters that want to be able to go and explore and play. We want to show how you can do this beyond just a week or two. And so the idea behind the scenes of remote working is to do just that, is to enroll sponsors and the preferred brands and products that make remote working easy, from the softwares and tech that you need abroad, the actual physical products, to the influencers and travel writers to share, those hiccups. It's not all butterflies and rainbows.
No,
there's a lot of fun and it's totally rewarding, but there's some additional work that goes behind it.
Definitely.
And we want to, bring some light that here's some of the things that you can expect and here's how to navigate those. And we're going to record it all. We're going to make some amazing tips, tricks. We're going to do workshops. And we want to show people, that remote work is here to stay. Whether you're an individual, you're a company, we can do this. And so we're uniting remote working, and there's a space for everyone, whether they want to follow the journey and like this, tune in live across the various social media outlets, start to see other travel writers and influencers get tips on fitness while they're abroad, or how do you cook healthy. We're gonna talk about it all for 2 weeks, and we'll be sharing a lot of this thereafter. So the idea really is to create a community of like-minded travelers where whatever your niche and focus is, whatever you want to do, and there's a way to pursue your passion. And we're going to provide you, the resources and know how to do so.
I love it. Well, I'm really excited. And
we hope to see you there too. So we're just going to wrap this up, and you can continue to tune in. Follow Zeal. Go to zealremote.com for more information. Check out our Caribbean retreat. You can follow and subscribe, or even sign up, and we hope to see you out there. But for more updates, more interviews, more to come, follow us, and we'll see you remotely.
We'll see you soon. Cheers.